13signsastrology.com. So it's one of the greatest debates as far as, is it one God versus the whole many thing? Some people say there's different aspects of it. Some people say there's one God, and then there's like angels and like, lesser entities up under this God, and these angels kind of form like helpers to God. Then you have some people that say like there is more than one God, but then at some point these gods answer to one God. And this is who the one God is, like a group of gods answering to one God. And then you have some people like that just believe, period. There's Elohim, meaning there's a group of many gods, and it's up to you if you select one out of the many to worship. That's your choice. And I'm bringing this up because you see, according to astrology, we believe in the group. So when people ask me, like, as far as like, so what's the God source? Like, what's going to be your God head? Like, what do you, as far as like, what do you believe in? Like, do you believe in a higher power? And yeah, I believe in a higher power. But according to astrology, we believe that there are many different aspects of what power, period, which is what, when you look up the term God, is nothing but force and power. And when you talk about the capital G versus the lowercase g, the capital G just goes into anything that's governed by government is considered capital. So when you talk about God in that respect, you're talking about like capital, essentially. You're talking about property. So these religions tie themselves in separately, but within the state through various different 501c, organizations and things of that nature. They control the capital of the letter G through God. However, you can go into a lowercase aspect of God. And this is when you get into the private aspect of God. And when you start to demonstrate magic, this privatizes God. So this takes the big G and makes it into a small g, because now you're demonstrating. You've now broke the spell on capital, and government is something governing something, and you now know how to tap into it yourself. So the only really difference when you talk about capitalization, period, even when you talk about outside of the God conversation, the only difference is the fact that you demonstrated that capital, and now you are able to, in your own self, demonstrate that capital, which makes it small or lowercase, which makes it more into a limited liability company because you are now financing whatever capital that is. So I'm bringing this up because as our religion forms, you're going to find out that, and notice that a lot of when I talk about God and things of that nature, I'm going to be comparing and using a lot of economic quotes and talking about a lot about karma and debt and things of that nature when it comes to God, because this is going to help you to understand how I see it, because I see it as this: you're never going to visa your way out of this situation believing in monotheism. At some point, you're going to have to take powers and matters into your own hands, and this is the basis of our religion: is to form what's called a limited liability company over all capital from A to Z. So essentially, at some point, you're going to have your hand in all capital and be able to break the spell on every letter from A to Z. And this is what would take us into, when I talk about the aspect of many gods versus one God. Because all little gods, essentially, they say at some point have to answer to a higher power. But before you can even get to the point of accessing a one God or higher power, you have to first understand power. You have to first be able to become a God yourself. If you're not, what I'm getting at is that if you're not a God yourself, God and the belief in God is useless. And I'll just close it down like right there and maybe come back up in the future and talk about this more. But if you don't believe in a higher power, God is useless. Like, as far as like, if you can't become a God, I misquoted that. If you can't see yourself becoming a God, the belief in God is useless. There's no need to believe in God because you don't see power in yourself. You haven't accessed power in yourself. So what do you look like believing in a God? So this is why people ignorantly get into scenarios of believing in God, getting a part of religion, things of this nature. All of this is ignorance. Had you known better, you'd be performing better. The only reason why you work a job, this is going into the same concept about God. It's no different. You answer to a God or a boss or a power. And the only reason why you work a job is because of ignorance. You don't know what else to do. You think that's the only way. And when somebody comes telling you something different, you're ready to beat them up because you are a neophyte. And not only that, but you are adherent for the matrix when you're in that type of mode and persona. And when you become a God, you learn how to take powers, all matters into your own hands. Every matter. I don't care what it is. You should not be answering to a power. If you are not demonstrating Godhood yet. If you answer to a higher power, and it's okay if you are. Nobody said, you have to be perfect. This is what we forming this for, to help you to get out of it. But at some point, you're going to have to go through every step and master God and then break the power source and the power structure at some point. So I'll be coming back up with more. Namaste. Hotep.